that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about a permanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, and D-gentlemen of all ages. Welcome back to another Sunday edition of the Degen Roundtable flagship show. I am your host for tonight, Zenith. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ZenithDI, or you probably could have seen all of us at the Hex conference recently, but we'll get to that in just one second. Other than that, around these parts, I'm known a little bit as a legal expert and government analyst, so that is what I do, and I'm joined by my excellent co-host tonight, Mr. Will Stevenson. Sir, how you doing?
Aloha, amigos. For the folks at home who don't know who I am Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker. I travel the states, and in my free time, I like to talk to fellow cryptocurrency and self-betterment and improvement enthusiasts such as these fine and fantastic gentlemen. I'm doing great. I'm down here in Austin hanging out with a good friend of mine and just hanging out with some local Hexicans in the area. But we got other panelists. We got Josh and we got Agent Jay. Josh, what's up, bro? What's new and exciting with you?
Nothing much, man. Went to the Ravens game last night, had a blast there, and just, keeping up to date with the Hex conference. I had a speaking part on Monday, and then just, following the conference, doing the watch party with you, and we had Nate on, and we had Crispy and a couple others on Thursday night, I think it was. But
yeah,
busy, we had Briz, Crispy, so busy streaming week. But ultimately a good one, and starting back the grind tomorrow, and then taking my daughter on a cruise next week. So got a little bit of travel coming up, and some stuff squished in between there. But yep, that's me, Jay. What's going on, dude?
Same shit, different day, right? It's a new year, but doing the exact same things that we were doing last year. It seems like everybody was busy streaming this week with the Hex conference. I was also streaming, but not off camera, but doing a lot of streaming in the Telegram chat, right? Always providing value to our members first. And a lot of very interesting things happened on the chart over the past few days. That's for sure. I know everybody gets bored when things get sideways, but even sideways action give you a lot of data. And that's what I spent the majority of week going over with the Telegram channel, right? And probably going over some of that data here today. But aside from that, I'm excited for the bull market. I know everybody's kind of concerned because Bitcoin dipped a little bit earlier than expected. The Santa rally did not happen. There's always explanations for everything, whether you believe them or not. But I still think that on an overall perspective, based on time, on price, and on structure, the 4-year cycle is still fairly intact, and I think we go up. So on the short term, we might still experience some downside, right? Probabilities are still higher that the bears have control of the market, but overall, 2025 is going to be a good year for crypto. So
Excellent. Well, with that being said, do want to give a special shout out to Matty Allen for hosting the Hex conference this last week. Did want to go around real quick. If you gentlemen have any final thoughts from that you want to share, I thought it was another great year. This is our 5th year of doing it, and it looks like we had a great turnout as always and some fantastic panels. Did you guys have any standout moments from the Hex conference you want to shout out?
I enjoyed our part, the part that we were on, both when Josh was on with Monkey, and then we were on in our panel, and then I also enjoyed the watch parties for what little portion of it I was able to to be there for. But it was a great conference, man. I just love the camaraderie. That's my favorite part, is everyone getting together and putting aside our differences. I know there's a lot of Hexicans that like on on some of the social media. They like to bitter and argue and stuff, but when it comes time for Hex conference, and it's like, hey, we're all on the same team, lots of unity, lots of great stuff going on. So I enjoy the friendship and everything of it. Like, the panelists were great. It's really cool to listen to Aubrey de Grey talk and speak about longevity and the cool stuff that's going on with that. So that was a nifty, like, special guest spot as well. But I just really like all the friendship and everything going around. Anyone else have any thoughts on the Hex conference?
I had a great time on that first day. We had a fun super chat train that was going around there, started by our good friend Fast Abdul, who was throwing dong around. And it got a bunch of other people throwing dong as well. And the chat was talking about how Fast Abdul and his dong for a while there. So that was also fun. But outside of that, I had a good time with Nuclear Herbs on that Thursday show. We started off the hour one of the Hex conference, and Nuclear Herbs doesn't stream that much. So it was an absolute pleasure to get to hang out with him more. And we actually had a fun day because we called each other on the phone earlier trying to plan out what we were going to talk about. And then it was just like hanging out in person again. We'd like talk about ideas, and then go off on tangents, be like, all right, we got to bring it back. Keep going, and more tangents. It's like, okay, I think we have a show able to do. But yeah, we could have streamed for like 3 hours. So shout out to Nuclear Herbs, absolute stud, and always doing good work. So go give him a follow on Twitter, X, if you want to keep up with all the legal updates, PulseChain Law School, and of course the Richard Hart case. And we might have a little bit of tidbit of news with regards to that later on, coming from none other than Mark Zuckerberg. But other than that, we're going to get to some chats before we get to our main segments tonight. So, Mr. Will Stevenson, if you have the thing, or if not, I can just get going. Digging ensues. Andy's muted. Will, we can't hear you, buddy.
There we go. I was just saying that I had forgotten to pull it out of my backpack before we started going live, and so I'm like over here fumbling like, shit, can I get it? But it's time for some motherfucking chat shout-outs, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking send it, Zenith.
All right, we'll do. Up first, we got Moonpilled Rational Optics, #1 Degen of the night. He says, Degens assemble! And hit that like button. Much appreciated, my man. Good to see you as always. See you getting in the chat first. Up next, we have another classic. We have, ladies and gentlemen, good evening from Funkmaster Hex himself. Let's see if we can get this going. We got to you, sir. Cheers. Up next, another fan favorite, Chad Donnerschwans with the hello, fellow base crypto bros. Are you ready for the golden age? I am ready for the golden age. I think there's a distinct possibility that we might get a crypto golden age and just an American golden age coming up in the next, hopefully what lasts and turns into a decade or two at least. So a lot of good stuff on the horizon. We'll talk about that more tonight as well. Up next, we got Marcus72 saying, what up, fam? Good to see my man. Thanks for stopping by. We got another one, Cotton Trust. He says, he's here for it. We're here for you, sir. Glad you're here for us as well. Up next, we got another man doing some great work out here. We got Corey Geary from the DeFi Crypto Alliance with Corey Geary. He says, good evening, Polskins. Good to see you, sir. I had a great time hanging out with you on your open mic show on Friday. For those of you that don't know, you can go talk and hang out on a panel show just like this with a bunch of good folks over on the DeFi Alliance. Every Friday morning, I believe it starts at about, 9, probably about 11 a.m. Eastern time. Corey, please correct me if I'm wrong. Want to show you guys some love and get people over there as well if you just want to hang out, talk, and then also have some good conversation with Corey and folks over there. Frank is usually in that show as well, so if you want to catch him, go see him there. Up next, we got Josh TH. Let's get some learning about politics and how we maybe get richer. Agreed. We're definitely going to be talking about how to get rich on the charts with Jay, and then we're also going to be talking about the world kind of feels like it's just waiting for Donald Trump to take control of things. And until then, it's just going to be a lot of waiting, or it's going to be a lot of preparation. Don't get caught sleeping. Things are going to explode out the gate, in my personal opinion, so be ready, please. Up next, we got #1 cheerleader in the entire crypto space, Tam Tam. She says, what's up, fam? Good to see you, as always. Hope you're doing well. Next up, we got Jonathan. We got Jay looking like Andrew Tate with the... No facial hair, though. I think Tate rocks... Yeah, Tate usually has the beard. No beard there. Just it looks like we got a little bit of the chin strap going on, but that's about it. And he says, hi, boys. Good to see you, sir. Oh, gosh. Corey, 11 p.m. Eastern time. That is correct. Thank you very much, Corey. Glad to hear it. Yeah, go show him some love. By the way, if you want to learn about how to keep your crypto from getting taxed to death by the government, but you don't want to have to move to Puerto Rico to do so, he's got the answers for you. He works with an excellent team over there, and they have a tax strategy system to allow you to keep your crypto gains inside of a trust and to grow tax-free, and then only if you take it out for personal gain do you actually get taxed. As always, though, nothing we say on this show is financial advice, so do your own research, talk to professionals. Two more sneaking in here. Shaved Head Gang, what up? Good to see you, boys. That's right. The team was giving me shit earlier for still having hair on the top, but maybe one day when the genetics start to fail. But until then, I'm still feeling pretty good. Alrighty, last one. Here we go. We got Beyond All says, "Hey, Degens, feel like Trump is the only hope for some reason." No, I think there's a lot more hope beyond that. I think that a pendulum has shifted. There have been massive wins in the court system, because that's what I follow, and the charts are heating up, and economics data is starting to look good. I have some personal disagreements with the Fed, and we'll talk about that at a later segment tonight as well. But yeah, there's plenty of good hope going around. We got lots of great stuff, like the Hex conference that just happened. I hope that was a hopeful event for you out there. But at the same time, it definitely does feel like the world narrative is following one singular man, which I'm not a huge fan that's how it's working. But at the moment, he's the main character, so we live in his world, unfortunately. Or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. I'm just a fan of more people being in more control of their own lives, so that's why I say it. Alrighty, with that being said, Mr. J, are you ready to talk about some markets?
I am always ready to talk about the markets, man.
Outstanding. Let's get a screen share going, and let's kick it off.
Okie dokie. Let me go ahead and bring that over. You guys see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit here. So we are here on the daily charts for Bitcoin. Look, we were discussing a little bit earlier about the 60-day cycles, correct? Right now, there are two prevailing narratives for the 60-day cycle. So I'm going to give you guys both the bearish and the bullish case as it stands. Which one do you want to hear first? You want to hear bullish or you want to hear bearish?
Let's switch it up. Let's hear the bearish case.
Okay, so here is the bearish case. The bearish case for Bitcoin is that we still have a little bit of lower price action to go, right? However, if you take a look at the daily chart, and we spoke about this a little bit earlier and then behind the green screen as well, is that on a daily chart, structurally speaking, both in time and in price as well, then the higher likelihood is that we are still going to be heading up in price for Bitcoin, and that the 4-year cycle is still intact, right? However, on the short term, we are indeed looking at some bearishness, right? So if we turn on our 60-day cycles here, right, we do have a 43-day high. Now, the only difference is, where are we putting our cycle low? So for the max pain scenario, right, you have your cycle low in on December 30th. Right? That's a day 56 cycle low, and that we are in a new cycle, right? We have a high here on day number 7, and that we are currently on day 13 of the current cycle. Now, why is this the bearish scenario? Simple. Well, that's because, as Zenith alluded to a little bit earlier, we did sweep the lows here on the 9th of January. Yes, it was by a hair. That doesn't change the fact that Bitcoin did sweep the lows, which means that you are more than likely, in this bearish scenario, going to roll over into lower prices up until the minimum, right? I would say 45 days, right, on average, is probably where you're going to start looking for a cycle low. That puts us at around the second week of February. Now, is it possible that we get a cycle low a little bit earlier, sometime in between day 40 and 45? Certainly, right? But probabilities are much higher that we're probably going to head into around the second to third week of February before looking for that cycle low. All right, so that's in terms of time for your bearish scenario. Now, how about in terms of price? Well, if this is your bearish scenario, what you are looking for is a completed WXY corrective pattern. We are looking for a still completion. That's why I had it here, right? An ABC corrective pattern to the downside, and we are looking for the low once again sometime around the 2nd or 3rd week of February. All right. If you take a trend-based fib extension, right, from the start, let me turn off some of these indicators here so it's a bit cleaner. There we go. Right. If you take a trend-based fib extension taken from our swing high here, right, that's our all-time high, to the end of your A wave, to the end of your B wave, then the C wave, which will mark the end of your purple wave 4 here, is going to take us at the minimum of $87,400 for Bitcoin, right? Give or take some change. Now, that fib level is important because it is also at the very last level of support for Bitcoin, which is around, what's that wick? This wick here on the 12th of November, right? It's at 85,121, right? So this area here is just around the last level of support for Bitcoin, right? Because this is the range that we've been trading in, right? For the majority of the last 2 months or so, before there's absolutely nothing here in the chart, right? This is what you would call a void. There is nothing in terms of support for price to hang on to, aside from a few fibs and probably some moving averages, right? But in terms of price action, there's absolutely nothing. The next level of major support for Bitcoin, right, horizontal support, is your cycle high back here in late October. We know that cycle highs either tend to form resistance or support for price if it heads down there, right? In this case, it's going to form as support if we go all the way back down, right? So there's your price range that we're looking for, right? The 1-for-1 fib extension minimum at 87,400, right? And then 82,000 is the common extension for price during this zigzag pattern, right? So anywhere between 87,400 minimum. If we hit that price and we lose it, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but that's our minimum target, right? Now, here is what you don't happen. Here is what you don't want to happen for this market structure to remain bullish, right? You do not want price heading all the way down to the 618 fib retracement, right? That's taken from the end of this purple wave 2, right, to the top of your wave 3. And that is going to give us a price of 74,320. That 618 Fibonacci is crucial for us to not lose. In fact, I would go so far as to say, as I don't want price going anywhere near that, right? Which means the bulls have to come in and hold this level of support here at the 382 Fib, right? Bit more confluence there, right? We had the extension, we had a retracement fib there, and we have some horizontals coming in together at around that $85,000 level. You don't want the bulls losing that support, because if we head to the 618 fib and touch it, I don't care if it's just by change, that is an invalidation of your wave 4, which means in order to remain bullish, you would have to reconsider this entire structure, right? And have to find a bullish explanation for it, right? Or more likely, the bull market is over and we are heading into a very long and painful bear market, right? If you wanted to get pedantic about it, technically speaking, we do already have a slightly right translated 4-year cycle. If you were to measure the cycles from low to low, right? We had our low in 2022, sometime in early December. Let's go back. Where was our cycle low in 2022? That's March, right? We actually didn't have it in December, right? The low for the last 4-year cycle occurred on November of 2022. And we had a high, a new all-time high in December of 2024. So technically speaking, you do already have a right translated cycle. And so we can go downhill from here, right? So you do not want price revisiting this 0.618 fib, because that will increase the probabilities that the bear market is upon us and that the bull market is over, right? But we will cross that bridge when we get there. Probabilities, like I mentioned earlier, are still higher on the daily to move up, which means even if we do revisit lower prices during the month of February, landing us at somewhere around that $85,000 level, the probabilities are still higher that we, once we hit that major fib somewhere around here, right, that we head back up towards our purple wave 5 for continuation of the trend. So that is your bearish scenario for the 60-day cycles and your prices and your timelines. Any questions?
Well, there you go, folks. Bull market over. We're done. Topped out. That's it. See you guys in 4 years.
Mm-hmm. You want to hear the bullish case?
Yeah, let's hear the bullish case.
All right. The bull case, right? It doesn't really change where our cycle high was for our last cycle, right? Still on day number 43. The only difference is instead of clocking in our cycle low on the 30th of December, we have our cycle low here just a few days ago on the 9th of January, right? Luckily, we did just make a new high today on the daily, right? So we currently have a day 4 number high, right? And the bullish pattern, right, is you have a WXY already completed. Right? We went over this structure in particular in the Telegram earlier this week, right? I mean, ad nauseum. We had 3 streams consecutive back to back talking about this current structure that we are in. So if you want a more detailed, granular explanation, then you're going to have to scan that QR code, jump in the Telegram chat, go into the Telegram exclusive folders. That's where you will find all of those videos, right? So we have that WXY structure already completed, which is great. Why? Because if you take a fib time taken from the start to the end of your wave 2 to the end of your wave 3, right? Our wave 4 ended here on day number 66 of the last 60-day cycle, right? Which is just before the 4 fib time. Time is never an invalidation when we're talking about invalidations. However, it is very unlikely that your wave 4 goes beyond 4 times as long in terms of time than your wave 2, right? So this is a perfect scenario for the bulls here for this WXY pattern to be completed, right? And then it's simple. You have your low here. We will not revisit this lows. And then 5-wave structure to the upside to finish your wave 5. Now, the only caveat for the bulls, right, aside from the invalidations that we spoke about earlier, the only caveat for the bulls is if we are going to start to see some bullish structures start to form, not only do you want to see the bullish 5-wave moves to the upside, right? You got a couple 1-2s, 3-4s, 4-5s, etc., etc. You are going to want, along with the structure, you also want to see this volume start to increase as well, right? If you do not have accompanying volume with the structure, then it is much more likely that you have another low coming in, right? So if we start getting really bullish, you want some volume to come in along with the bullish moves, right? Otherwise, I'm not going to, I'm not going to hold my breath. All right, so very simple for the bulls. Bulls, you hold the cycle low, you start making bullish structures to the upside, and you want volume to accompany the moves as well. All right, so very simple. Oh, in terms of time, right? That means if we have a cycle low down here in day number 66, that means, get out of my drawing tool here. That means that we are indeed in a new cycle, and you can expect this next 60-day cycle to take us until the very early parts of March, right? March 10th for an average 60-day cycle, give or take a few days. So there is your bullish narrative for the 60-day cycle, right? But, and I'm not going to get granular here, just a short TLDR for you guys. At the end of the day, we are looking for the bounce to the upside, right? Whether you're dealing with a bearish 60-day cycle or the bullish scenario that we just spoke about now, you are looking for a bounce to the upside. How this structure here develops, right? how the structure here develops. Whoa, that is way too zoomed in. All right. How the structure here develops will determine if we head up higher for continuation, or we get a three-wave structure, get rejected, head back down, sweep the lows, right? So for the bears, this is what you're going to see, right? Here's what you want to see, right? 1, 2, 3 before you're heading back down. For the bulls, also simple, right? For the bulls, you want a 1, 2, 3. You're going to get some pullback, but then continuation to the upside. Right? So whether we get rejected or not during this move up is going to determine, along with the structure, along with the volume, it's going to determine where we head after the rally. So there you go. Questions?
I have my question is not exactly relevant to the things you just covered. I was recently going through the stuff that we had in the Telegram, and I don't remember if it was a day or two ago, but Dace tagged both you and Zenith in a post about, I think it was Bitcoin volume from retail and how it's changed over time. Did any of you guys get to take a look at that little image?
I did. To be honest, I'm not sure what the point of it was. It's an interesting data point to look at, but I don't know if it's telling of anything, so to speak, which is like, yeah, retail has been down to the level that it was down at when we were at the first peak of 2021. But at the same time, looking at that chart for me personally, I was like, I don't really see the correlation here, or like what the point of the chart is. So I could just be missing it entirely, but personally, that was my read.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that what that chart showed was the demand for Bitcoin by retail, right, during specific points in time, and really the takeaway message from the chart that they shared us was that over the past, let's see here, like at least over the past month or so, that the retail demand for Bitcoin has basically plummeted, to the negative levels, which is reflective of the sentiment that we are seeing on crypto Twitter.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be a surprise to you.
Well,
I can guarantee you that if you pulled up...
Sorry, I do have something pulled up for this. I'll share it real quick. And that's the good old Fear and Greed Index. Voila, 61.
You guys also have to keep in mind the price of Bitcoin. I mean, we're not too far away from Bitcoin being completely priced out of the retail market. I mean, you know, we're at $100,000. I mean, yeah, absolutely, people can buy fractions of it and stuff like that. But
yeah,
you know, you have to take into account the price of Bitcoin and think, okay, well, is the average retail investor still looking at Bitcoin, or is that sort of slipped the average retail investor now to where it's more institutional money coming in and more retailers going to the alt side?
I disagree. I disagree. I think you try to grab Bitcoin at whatever price you can grab it.
Oh, look, I'm not making. Listen, I wasn't making a definitive stance on that. I was just saying, like, that's something else that you want to consider. Is the price of Bitcoin, you know, just priced out of regular retail at this point or not?
I would say personally that if you are retail and you're listening to this, don't think that you're priced out of Bitcoin. Like Josh said, some people are going to believe that. They're going to see, wow, $100,000 for Bitcoin. I can't ever become a whole coiner. That is not the context. That is not the frame in which you want to look at Bitcoin or the crypto market in general. You grab Bitcoin at whatever price you can. You hold that shit until infinity, right? Or you can sell it. But if you're like Michael Saylor, you're never selling your Bitcoin. So
Jay, you're describing like the winner approach, and Josh, you're describing like what many normal people that are not necessarily winner minder are thinking, right?
Yeah.
Is that what? Josh is absolutely right.
Yeah,
pretty much. Josh is absolutely right. Yep.
Because there is something behind the whole number approach to owning whole coins. You know what I'm saying? And Bitcoin, you know, unless you're
the unit bias.
Unit bias. So unless you're a wealthy individual, retail investors aren't buying whole Bitcoins right now. They're just not doing it. Unless they're wealthy and they have that sort of money. But yeah, I mean, so you got to figure that's where we are with Bitcoin. Ethereum's probably only a cycle or two behind that same situation, but just like what Jay said, it doesn't matter. If you can only buy, 5% of a Bitcoin, then, do that 10%, whatever you can buy. Absolutely. It's just the unit bias is real.
Yep. How people will measure their wealth in the future is the number of Satoshis that they hold.
There you go.
I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, but sorry, that's just the way it's going to be.
That's true. Hey, Jay, we do have a question here from Beyond All. He says, I thought right translated meant double topping as it happened in 2021. Can you help him understand? I think this is in reference to when you were talking about right translated counting from cycle lows for the 4-year cycle.
Yep. So Beyond All, it's very simple. Most analysts will measure a 4-year cycle from the low of the previous bear market to the low of that current market, right? So from low to low. Double tapping doesn't mean jack shit, right? Right translated means that the high of a 4-year cycle, in this case, right, because that's what you're asking about, occurs post the 2-year mark, right? And like I was saying earlier, if you really wanted to get pedantic about it, if we were to measure from low to low, you had a high in December of 2024. Our cycle low was November of 2022, which means you had a high 2 years after. So technically, you would call that a neutral, but neutral right translated, right? Right translated just simply means that a high occurs after the 2-year mark. Left translated means the high occurs before the 2-year mark, right? If you were to go to 60-day cycles, same concept. A high after day 30, right translated, a high before day 30, left translated. So fairly simple concept. I know there's a learning curve to it. If you would like to learn more, obviously keep your eye out on this channel. We go over the 60-day cycles, me and Zenith in particular, over and over and over again, week to week, day-to-day basis. And then also go ahead and take a look at Bob Lucas's channel, right? These are called the Lucas cycles because he's the one that basically coined the term and observe the patterns, right? So go to his channel. He has his own channel. A lot of good data there. So hopefully that helps out.
True. Bob Lucas, the OG. But yeah, as far as all of your technical analysis, I would have to confirm pretty much all of it, but trying to use slightly different sources as well. I was looking at limit orders that are currently in the market right now to see if we could also use that to build possible support levels if the Bitcoin price drops. Yeah. And shocker, guess where those are at? Exactly all the places we talked about previously. There's a region right around starting at that 87.5 area, goes down to 85. That's pretty much that first stop after that massive pump through the void, as you called it. And then the next one is all the way down below the void at like 70,000. And then there's another one right below that at another area of like 65,000. So, wow, all these things line up. Who knew?
Yeah. Look, I mean, we're not wizards here, right? We look at data. A lot of other people see the data, which is why you see orders reflected, right? That's why there's an order block reflected at those price levels. If you wanted to take a DeFi equivalence to it, you could go to Uniswap. You could look at where the liquidity is sitting for something like Ethereum, right? What price points do they have their orders sitting at? I guarantee you there's going to be a ton of liquidity sitting at $3,000 ready to suck all the Ethereum up if anything was dumped into the market and price went down to 3K. I guarantee you, right? So like Zenith said, taking a look at where people are placing their orders, especially massive, like hundreds of millions, billions of dollars worth of orders, that's where you're going to find your support resistance because that's where price is going to bounce or get rejected from.
Most definitely. By the way, you want to talk about Ethereum?
I'll let you take that, bro. I talked too much already with TA, man. I'll let you take Ethereum as always, Z.
Okay. There's a great irony to this because I'm not saying I'm an Ethereum maxi, but I definitely hold more Ethereum than Bitcoin, and that has been the wrong move this entire time up till now. But you know what? These are the choices that I make, and I live with it. Although I will say, Ethereum is continuing to give me a little bit of hope because what I'm looking at here is we had a swing low that was higher than the previous low, where Bitcoin had this low right here was actually lower than the last one. So what that tells me is that there's a little bit more bullish activity going on with Ethereum. As far as the actual Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio, though, Ethereum looked like it made a low here over on the 18th of November. This is a weekly chart, by the way. And since then, it's been kind of bouncing around this range, and it's possible that could be the bottom of it, but only time will tell on that front. As far as Ethereum is looking, though, it's looking pretty good. The RSI made a big run up here, and then we came back down, and we actually made a new higher low than the last low as well. So again, in my mind, these are very, very bullish signals pointing me to the idea that Ethereum is possibly going to have its time in the sun coming up here in the near future. Again, I'm not saying it's financial advice. I'm not even saying how it's going to do against Bitcoin. I'm just saying Ethereum's looking good. I'm getting multiple indicators that lead me to believe that Ethereum is building momentum where it has refused to do so for the entire year past. So that's what I'm looking at. Like Jay said, that $3,000 level right here looks like a good solid support line. And again, if we ever drop down that low, people are going to be buying it up as much as they can.
Yeah. A few things to add, Z, to your analysis, right? We mentioned this on the Telegram content, right? Ethereum is one of those, it's one of those times during the cycle where Ethereum is misaligned from Bitcoin, right? Ethereum had its cycle low very convincingly, much earlier than Bitcoin did, right? And it has not swept the lows, which is good. Eventually, I think they will line up once again. But, you know, Zenith said earlier that it was the wrong move. My friend, it's the wrong move until it isn't, right? We know that Ethereum is going to be here to stay. It's going to do well. And in this case, right, it's leading Bitcoin at least at this particular moment in time, right? In terms of the ETH Bitcoin ratio, we also mentioned that in some charts, right, it double bottomed, which is a good sign against Bitcoin. And in some charts, like Zenith pulled up, right, he had the Binance chart pulled up in particular, it made a higher low. And that's what you want to see on ETH Bitcoin, right? Because what has been going on for the past 2 years? Ethereum has been bleeding against Bitcoin for the predominant part of this bull market. Sorry, it's been bleeding against Bitcoin since the bull market started. Okay, let me correct that statement right there. So I can understand why people are bearish and, you know, shitting on Ethereum. But Ethereum did give it some freaking credit. It did make a higher low against its Bitcoin valuation. So that's what you want to see when you have a reversal on structure. You want to see higher lows and higher highs. And currently we have that for Ethereum. Whether can it be sustained? Yet to be determined. But right now we take what it gives us. And we have a higher low and higher high.
Very true. I do like the Fibonacci retracement that we have from the cycle top to the cycle low, and then this recent pump just exactly touched the 382 level. It's like, seems like a coincidence. We do have a question from Moonpill's Rational Optics. He says, Zenith, think Ethereum will hit below 3.2K again? I'm gonna assume you're talking about in the near future, not like next 4-year cycle low. In the near future, I think the low's in. I personally think that the low is in for this 60-day cycle. I think that we're over on the Bitcoin side of the house. We're looking to get ready to start a new cycle, whatever it is, whether we're in the new cycle now or if we just started a new cycle and we're on day like 4 or something. The point being is that Bitcoin is going to, I personally think that Bitcoin is going to start seeing a resurgence towards the upsides. And even if it does drop down a little bit further, at that point, that's the only scenario where I see that the Ethereum chart is also going to make a dip down. But at the same time, the strength of Ethereum is showing me that even if we do get a dip, I'd be surprised if we dip below 3,000. And if we did, it would be very, very, very briefly, in my personal opinion. And that's just based on the limit order depth, the support level that's being built up here, and the overall strength of the Ethereum market right now compared to Bitcoin. So that's where I'm at. I personally think there's a higher probability that we are starting the new cycle, whether it's one of the 2 possible scenarios. And that third scenario is the continuation of an existing cycle right now. And we keep going towards probably maybe even something like give it like a week from here, 77 days. But if we're at a 77-day cycle, the probability of 77-day cycles is significantly lower than the probability of a 66-day cycle, or even the 56-day cycle? Yeah, 56-day cycle. So part of the analysis that I do, or I'm trying to turn into some real stuff, is using normalized distributions for cycle lengths. Your first standard deviation of your cycle lengths is going to be centered between like 50 days and 69 days. And then your second standard deviation is going to be another 9 days outside of that. So that's going to be about like 42 days on the lower end. And then, 78 days on the higher end. Yep. So that's really stretching out further than your average cycle length. It's possible, but they're very, very rare.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning much towards it's going to be one of these two situations that I talked about previously, which is either the 56-day cycle or the 66-day cycle, and in which case I think we're swinging to the upside. The reason I say upside is looking at my time-based from the 4-year cycle standpoint, which is that we are in the bull market. We are going up at this point, and we have a massive bullish event coming up with President Trump's inauguration. I personally think that a lot of the market right now is kind of just sitting around twiddling their thumbs or doing prep work for the anticipated economic regulatory environment that will be coming up in like 9 days. So that's what I'm looking at here.
Yeah. A few more things before we round off the analysis here. What Z mentioned about the extended cycles for the bulls, you don't have to hold your breath too much longer, right? If we head into next week, right, heading into the 70s, right, mid to high 70s, heading to that 80-day cycle, right? If we have not swept the low by that point, the probabilities that we are getting that kind of extended cycle is low, which means you're probably going to sweep the lows at some point, right?
Correct.
So,
the fact that we have two possible candidates, that is a very, very strong indicator that the low has been swept.
Yep. Yeah. So you don't have to hold your breath that much longer, right? So a lot of data coming in over the following week, right? Just make sure you keep your head on the swivel so you don't miss anything. But we don't have to wait too much longer to determine whether, hey, do we have that 56-day cycle? We're in a new one. We're going to be left translated. Or are we on day number 66? We haven't swept the low yet, and we're going up. So
I like it. All right, gentlemen. Is there anything else we want to talk about for technicals? I know we did have a comment from Corey earlier mentioning that it appears that the PulseChain ecosystem core coins could have a local low confirmed and start swinging to an upside.
gotta see. I gotta check my analysis, but
let's just take a look at price anyways, real quick.
Oh, and Moonpilled, if you're still here, bro, if Bitcoin sweeps the low, Ethereum, my minimum target for Ethereum is back at 2,800. So.
All right, PulseChain, what you doing? On the daily chart, looks like we do have a low, and it confirms this wick that I thought was an anomaly earlier, but that just looks like a solid support level at this point. Just at a glance. Pulse X, how we doing? Pulse X, less confirmation of a support level building here, but if you want to take it back, this area here in September of 2024, and then some of these areas in May, and then I guess you could also include this little bump in June, it could show a flipping of the area, but at the same time, it seems entirely possible that it could also drop further to this 2379 area, so that's 24-ish% of SAC rate, I believe. So that seems possible, but at the same time, again, they kind of move in relation to each other for everybody in the know within the PulseChain community. Incentive token, we're looking at a possible support level here at $1.52. Yeah, some confirmation with this wick low very recently. And then as far as data in the past, yeah, you have something here, a little bit of wick here, but there is potential for it to drop a little bit lower. That's not terrible. And let's look at Hex. Hex, we are looking at a little bit of confirmation for maybe some really old data, but it could be invalidated by the newer data coming in. Yeah. I could see that being a bottom. It does hit that support level that was previously drawn, but that support level even was kind of invalidated a little bit here earlier and also by this wick. So I'm probably gonna have to update this chart. But yeah, that's what I got. Any thoughts?
No, I mean the PulseChain ecosystem remains. It looks exactly the same as I left it last, right? The health of each individual asset and the core four. You still have Incentive and PulseX holding up the best because they held their structure, and then Hex and PulseChain are lagging a little bit behind because they did it right. So still the same old song and dance, right? Like if you're a holder, what you're doing is you're being impatient, you're accumulating if you want more, and you don't let any of the FUD and the negative price action bother you. And if you're still around, then it probably doesn't bother you anyway.
That's true. I think the convicted folks are convicted enough to stick through all this kind of stuff. Nothing groundbreaking here. And we'll talk a little bit about some Richard Hart stuff later on if we have time. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Could be a low, in which case that would be cool. And it would also, in my opinion, line up nicely with the 60-day cycles. And a quick shout out to Coach X. He was the one that really drilled it home to me, which is that the PulseChain ecosystem moves closer in relation to Ethereum than Bitcoin. So for this one, obviously, Bitcoin leads the markets overall, so pay attention to Bitcoin for sure. And at the same time, if you're interested in trying to read the crystal ball a little bit for PulseChain, look at specific stuff going on inside the PulseChain system. Most notably, volume. I think volume is one of the big drivers of stuff going on in PulseChain and where it can actually separate itself from the rest of the market. But outside of that, the price typically follows some of the trends that's going on with Ethereum. So look to Ethereum, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, man. Price doesn't matter if there's no volume accompanying it.
True.
Because it'll be short-lived. It'll be short-lived.
True. Alrighty. Well, with that being said, let's get to our first article of the evening. And I personally think that this is the one that kind of sets the tone for the rest of it, which is that Fed officials lean neutral on policy but expect clarity once Trump begins. U.S. Federal Reserve officials are adopting a neutral policy stance, pointing to strong economic performance and awaiting more clarity from Donald Trump's policies. United States Federal Reserve's officials are leaning towards neutral policy stance once the term begins. Wow, they just doubled the sentence there. Quote, I expect that the coming months should bring clarity on the incoming administration's policies and the carryover of inflationary pressures from 2024. End quote. That's from Fed Governor Michelle Bowman on her January 9th speech. So a little bit of an update. There was a speech that was given by some of the Federal Reserve folks this last week, and it pretty much just confirmed what we talked about previously when it comes to the actual data that was released with the last Fed meeting. Pretty much they created an update to the informational docket that gets released every other Fed meeting. And what they said is that there is an increased possible risk for inflation to the upside for 2025, more than they previously expected. So as a result of that, the markets were not super thrilled about that. And that's when everyone was still saying that Jerome Powell ruined Christmas because he did that. But at the same time, it's not crazy. What it pretty much was saying is like, hey, if you're expecting 4 interest rate cuts next year, you should probably expect like 2. So overall, it's nothing crazy and nothing confirmed even. It's just speculation about the potential risk. And they say there is a higher amount of risks for 2024 due to a more energized economy. So the economy is going to be growing, but they also anticipate that inflation might also creep up a little bit with it as well. And the last 2 inflation data readings that we got kind of confirm that. By the way, we do have a CPI report coming out this Wednesday. So we are going to get the inflation data for December this Wednesday, and that should also help make some give some information and data about what's going on in the markets.
I'm gonna chime in here with not really much understanding about what's going on currently, and I'm gonna kind of reference the book that we're reading for book club. That, by the way, guys, if you haven't read Creature from Jekyll Island, holy smokes! Like, I used to be pretty cynical about the government before I read this book, but now reading The Creature from Jekyll Island, it's like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, that was a long read.
The Fed can do a lot of stuff. Yeah, dude, it's a 24-hour audiobook on 1X. And I've listened to a couple podcasts with the author, and I will say that, like, I don't know if it necessarily matters what Donald Trump's policy is as far as like what the Fed does in the long run. It probably has a good bit to do with the short term and things of that nature, but just like the amount of power that the Federal Reserve and the international the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, or whatever it's called, the amount of power that they have to just create, money out of nowhere and send it to all sorts of places and do all sorts of things and fight inflation and keep job wages, doing their healthy thing and make sure that unemployment, like, it's all just a big fugazi, in my opinion. It's like, I take it a whole lot. Like, I didn't take it very seriously to begin with because I didn't understand it. And now I understand a lot of, or I think I understand anyways, a lot of the background information and a lot of the history. And it's just like, holy smokes, like, I understand now why Jerome Powell, when asked like, hey, are you going to step down if Trump says you're fired? And he's just like, no, And it was just very definitive and solid, and like not he didn't have any sort of no hint of unconfidence or hesitation in his voice when that happened. Like I don't know exactly what kind of game they're playing. They might just be giving us lip service, like, oh yeah, we're waiting for Trump to get in to see what we can do. They might have some sort of legitimate process or plan or whatever, but just I'm super duper skeptical about anything that comes out of their mouth. Or like they're probably going to do the things they say they're going to do, but like the stories behind why they do it is the thing that I think it is important for folks to watch out for. What are your guys' thoughts? That's my little peanut brain analysis over here. What do you guys think?
I think that book club, when we do it next, is going to be an interesting one for sure. I've been reading the Creature from Jekyll Island book at advanced speed because I was trying to get it done for last week. We're unable to do so. It's going to get pushed to next week, which I think is a good thing because there's a lot of stuff in there.
Week after next, because we're both.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Correct. My description of trying to listen to this book at advanced speed was that this was a fever dream, a tinfoil hat fueled fever dream. And I was like, you know what? This doesn't sound plausible. But then I watched some of the other interviews that they did with the author, and I was like, nope, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. This is a credible source. Oh, dear God, this is so much worse than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not to doom pill anybody too much with the Federal Reserve. Well, more than you probably already should be. But, like, yeah, the story of how that thing was made is terrible. But as far as our article here goes, the whole point of this is that we're kind of just taking guesses at what's going to come down the pike later on this year, and we're still just waiting until we actually see a policy shift going on. Jerome Powell, in his last Fed meeting, I think I pulled a clip when we were on Walk the Block the other week, talking about how Jerome Powell's like, look, we have good potential policy coming in, and we think we have good fiscal policy over at the Fed. These two things working hand in hand should theoretically create favorable economic conditions, specifically for businesses to have good years and then also to still fight inflation at the same time. It might tick up a little bit, but it's not going to be like the 5, 8, 10, 12% inflation that we saw over the last 4 years. If anything, it might tick up closer to 3%, which I think all of us over here always joke around and be like, they say 2% is the target level, but in reality, it's always 3%.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, again, I think this article just kind of just keeps just tying into some of the other ones, which is that right now it's all just speculation, which is what even more of the stuff is right now. So we have next article. It says pro crypto CFTC, that is the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, and the subcommittee are rumored as Trump inauguration nears. So whoever's going to be the head of the CFTC, that one is still up in the air. We don't have confirmation or even really good speculation on that one just yet. And there has been a purported subcommittee trying to be created under the U.S. Banking Committee that's looking to create its first crypto subcommittee. Here we go. The U.S. Senate Banking Committee is reportedly set to create its first ever crypto subcommittee, while a pro-crypto commissioner is now a top pick to replace the outgoing chair of the CFTC, according to 2 reports. They are seen as positive developments for the crypto industry less than 2 weeks before President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. Again, there it is. We're just waiting for the change in the guard so that we can actually get the regulations in place and things can hit the ground running. Outside of that, I believe the current head of the CFTC was originally... There was rumors and some like behind the doors chatter about how they actually offered that guy the job to be the head of the SEC, and he was like, "Oh hell no, I'm not getting after there to clean up Gary's mess again."
Yeah, Giancarlo.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a guy. Yep. So here we go. We got a tweet from Eleanor Tourette. It says new Senate Banking Committee led by Senator Tim Scott set to establish its first ever subcommittee dedicated to crypto. Subcommittee will mirror the financial CMTE version established by Patrick Henry in 2023. A Senate aide confirmed that Senator Loomis has been tentatively chosen to chair the subcommittee pending a full committee vote. I'm told the vote to approve Loomis as the new Republican and Democrat members still being decided. This is as of January 10th. Will take place in the coming days. As far as things going on in Congress right now, Congress has officially started their new session, so they are doing a lot of their the pretty typical and procedural stuff like choosing the Speaker of the House. That went pretty smoothly for who was it? Mike Johnson, I think it is. Mike Johnson, I think, got confirmed as Speaker of the House, so that went swimmingly. No more of the giant Speaker of the House fights that have been happening over the last few years. So now that you have the Speaker of the House is actually the person that determines committees and subcommittee assignments. Therefore, we kind of have to get the committees finalized and voted on before we actually start creating new subcommittees. So again, things are proposed, things are thrown out there, but at the same time, until we actually get confirmation, assume that it's all just talk.
I think bullish overall, right? So if Senator Tim Scott, everybody knows he's what really fueled the speculation between Charles and the White House was he had a few meetings with Senator Tim Scott, and if he's creating a subcommittee specifically for crypto with Senator Looms heading it, I think that's excellent, right? Because we have the Financial Services Committee and the Ag Committee in the House, right? So if we have something specific for the Senate underneath the Senate Banking Committee, headed by Senator Looms, right? You can't go wrong with her, man. So if those two are leading the charge for crypto in the Senate, then because remember, within Congress, at least when it came to things like Fit 21 and SAB 121, right? Way back when we went over those things, there was pretty solid majority in favor of overturning 121 and passing Fit 21, right? The issue was when it came to the Senate. Senate eventually decided, right, because there's the majority there is a bit slimmer. Senate eventually decided we're going to pass it on to the White House. Mr. Popular vetoed the overturning of 121, but Fit 21 didn't even make it past the Senate, unfortunately. Right. So if we have now majority, right, if we get a focused subcommittee within the Senate, right, to handle crypto with Senator Looms, I think you have a higher likelihood that those things are going to get pushed towards Donald Trump's desk hopefully within like the next 6 months to 1 year.
Agreed. I think that this is going to be another contentious 4 years when it comes to actually getting legislation through Congress. And the reason that I say that is because the size of the majority for both the House and the Senate is both very, very small. So I believe right now the Republicans have 219 and the Democrats have 215 seats. That is a 4-seat majority. That is very, very slim. And all it takes is just a few people to peel off from a majority at that point, and you're already looking at trying to
and in terms of crypto regulation, you mean, Z?
No, not crypto regulation in particular. I'm just talking about like overall politics when it comes to what I'm personally expecting, at least for the first 2 years before we get the midterms and we get re-elects. Although you could also take it even more cynical, which is that this is only going to be for the first year, in which case that second year everyone starts campaigning for their upcoming election, in which case nothing is going to get done. Yep. But yeah, so there is a 4-seat majority in the House and there's a 6-seat majority in the Senate. It's not like an overwhelming support for anything. Donald Trump did win the popular vote, so to speak, when it comes to the presidential race. But at the same time, remember, all bills have to originate in the House. Only then can they go to the Senate, and only then, once they are approved in both the House and the Senate, can they go to the presidency. So as much as you would love for Trump to just come in and just kind of run roughshod over all obstacles in his way, that's probably not how it's going to go. And the assessment on the ground right now is that all of the major political priorities for Trump are going to be tied up in a single massive bill that will be approved by Congress in the first coming weeks, pretty much. The reason to do that is that if you want your things to get through, you have to negotiate. As much as we would love to be political purists and say that and just really like stick to the principles of DeFi, we can't just like with a straight face argue that everyone has to bend the will to one person's political ideology or their whims, if you will. Yep. There's going to be negotiations. There's going to be backroom deals. In order to get everything through, including all the crypto stuff, there's going to be some sort of compromise made with the other side, and you have to give them something that they want in order to get what you want. So that's what I'm looking at. Expect some sort of massive bill coming out early. It's, oh gosh, I keep forgetting the name of the process, but there's a process that the House can go through that lowers the threshold for the voting to 50% instead of trying to get above a 60% to close the filibuster. And what that does is it's a I'll find it and I'll put it in the Telegram. How about that? What it does is it pretty much allows you once per year, you can use a special regulation to allow a passing of the bill with the lower threshold. This is usually applied to anything fiscal or anything monetary in order to kind of set the budget kind of stuff. So that's what I'm referring to here. Yeah. All right. Any thoughts?
Oh,
That was pretty fucking deep, broski. We are at the point that we had mentioned in the green room for Agent Jay and Josh. So I'm gonna toss it over to you guys real quick before y'all gotta fly away and do stuff. Any final thoughts for the folks at home or anything?
Josh, I've been talking, so I'll let you go first, brother.
No, I mean, unfortunately I didn't really have a chance to prep for some of these articles. So I mean, good content. I don't really have anything to feed. It's just one of those episodes tonight where I don't really have very much to chime in on, unfortunately. But I mean,
that's all right.
No worries, bro. Yeah, no worries.
Well, hey, listen. Since you guys got to roll off in the near future, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future? Any final thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, so Jay, I'll go first. You guys can find me Twitter, Instagram. You guys can find me at Avenge the Fallen. Just replace the E's with 3s. That's where I am. Nothing really coming up. Like I said, I'm taking my daughter on a cruise next week. So looking forward to that. But crypto-wise, nothing really. Just sitting back and being patient. And
yeah.
Yep, just waiting for everything to fly over. How about
it's the
you,
game,
Jay?
right? It's either going to be another year or it's going to be another 5 years. So hey, there we go, baby. Fucking love it.
You only lose if you sell. So
yeah, exactly. That. What about you, Jay?
You could find me mostly on the Telegram. I do some Twitter sometimes, and I do some Instagram sometimes. But most of the content that I create, crypto related, is going to be in the Telegram, and so that's where you can find me. Right, I'm very active there. I put a lot of content out there. And so if you want the detailed, more granular analysis that we do on the charts for Ethereum, for Bitcoin, for, I forgot who's the one that always drops me. Oh, it was Large. Large yeah. Always drops me like altcoins that were live like 15 minutes ago. So if you want that kind of stuff, then you could find it in the Telegram. So
that is excellent.
Aside from that,
well,
see you around.
Well, we've lost Zenith. I think he'll be rejoining us here shortly, soon. But for you gentlemen, there we go. There's Zenith.
There we go.
He is back.
Classic.
There you go. You're back in the captain's seat. All yours.
Much appreciated. So, by the way, the word I was looking for was reconciliation. That is the process of the bill that I was referring to. Figured it out.
Like for Catholics, like reconciliation, going and confessing the sins.
I don't know if it's quite that. I think this is more of part of a rules
That's
committee
confession,
thing.
My man.
Yeah, reconciliation, baby. Right. They're gonna reconcile. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm throwing us off on tangents here. Josh, Agent Jay, thank you guys so much for joining us. Feel free to hop on out whenever you guys like. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep.
Thank
you boys have a good one. I'll catch you guys next time.
All right, we'll see you on the flip side, amigo. Thanks for hopping on.
Of course.
Take care, guys. Pleasure of mine. So take care. See you guys around, and Degen responsibly. Take care.
Yes. Now it's just us chickens, bro. Us and Mrs. Producer. Shout out to Mrs. Producer, by the way. Look at that, catching us on the cameras, redoing the screens at a moment's notice. She's rocking and rolling. I'm gonna try flipping my phone here. Oh nope, that is not better. We're gonna go back to the old way. You want let's hop through the rest of some of these articles and get some thoughts off of our chests.
Agreed. So, final article was this one saying that XRP price eyes a 60% gain ahead of Gary Gensler's SEC exit. XRP broke out of a bullish continuation pattern following Ripple's court win to seal documents in the SEC case. Notoriously, XRP has been the SEC's favorite punching bag over the last few years, but XRP has been fighting back miraculously so. So we do need to give a golf clap to XRP when they do win, and they've had some very good wins over the years. Our favorite stable coin is looking like it's going to have a good time coming up here in the near future, and that's because they got some good news from the courts, which is that a lot of the documents that the SEC was trying to get from them as part of their suing them process, they agreed to say, nope, we're going to keep that sealed. Therefore, that information that is private will remain private. So yet another win for XRP. But again, this comes at the back of XRP making moves now that Gary Gensler is getting ready to exit literally the day before Trump. And remember, Gary announced this move after Trump got elected. Again, it keeps coming back to the same point we keep hammering, which is that we're kind of in a holding pattern. You can absolutely make your preparation moves right now, which XRP is doing, by the way. If you remember last week, I believe we covered a article talking about how XRP has 75% of their open positions that they're advertising for are U.S. based. And again, I do believe that is in response to some of the proposed legislation coming up that theoretically, if you're a U.S. crypto company, you might be have some better tax situations going on for you. So people are making moves. People are getting ready to make moves. And even the market looking like it's getting ready to make some moves. Any thoughts on this one?
I do love it when XR. So I have some broader thoughts. I don't know exactly like. I like that the article ties the price gain to, you know, Gary Gensler's impending doom, and not necessarily that like they're doing better marketing or they've got more products launching or they've finally like, I don't know, thrown the dart on the lucky number on the dartboard or something. But you know, anything to describe the green candles, I think is fantastic. And I love like I have no idea how XRP works. I know that that dude who recently got snagged up and wrote a book about hijacking Bitcoin. I want to say that it's the Bitcoin Jesus guy. Shoot, I can't remember his name. Dang it! He did an interview with Tucker Carlson. He launched like Bitcoin Cash or no.
Oh, the Bitcoin Cash guy.
Yeah, fuck. What's his name? Oh, dang it. Anyways, he helped like start up XRP a long time ago, and and it's supposed to be used as a global payment solution. And like I don't know really much about XRP. I don't own any XRP, but I love to see that other coins who have been just down for a long time and doing all sorts of like terrible things like what's that? Roger Ver. Yes, thank you. My friend Dr. Allen, the guy who I was visiting up in Dallas a little bit ago, he will be interviewing him on the 22nd of this month. So look forward to that. But he has a copy of Roger Ver's book, Hijacking Bitcoin, and like I watched Roger Ver's interview with Tucker recently, and it's really cool how he describes like Bitcoin OGs versus like Bitcoiners now, and the way that the product has transformed throughout time and the mission statement and everything switched. And that's like why he helped create XRP. I don't think he's one of like the founders, but I think he played a role in its like heavy adoption or something. I don't exactly know his ties to it, but he talked about it in the interview. But like, I love seeing XRP do the thing that it's doing, because it just sat stagnant for the last, like, what was it, 8 years? I think it missed the entire bull run last cycle. And like, it's just been chilling at like what, 50 cents or 60 cents or something like that for the longest time. I might have the numbers wrong in my head, but like, it just recently did like a crazy 5x or a 4x or something. And then now it's doing like these nice big old swings. And I don't know, it's cool to see that, like, if the community sticks around long enough and people just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, even if the price is doing fucking nothing, like, it could just pop off one day. And there's another cool little campfire story with XRP, and that's that like they've partnered with MasterCard, and there's a new cryptocurrency credit card that is now available, and I think that it works worldwide. I'm not entirely positive yet. I caught it in the Crypto News Telegram, and I reposted it in the Degen Roundtable. I think I posted a picture of it. Oh no, excuse me. I saw that on Instagram on Wealthypot's page. Anyways, not on Crypto News Telegram, but doesn't matter where the story came from. What matters is like the campfire stories that XRP tells and the price swings that it does. And it's cool to see that something sitting stagnant for so long can just finally do some cool stuff. And, you know, we all love poking fun at Gary Gensler, and like, I'm kind of sad for him to go, because it's like, dang, we're losing our favorite heel. And it's like, who are we going to be able to make fun of after all this is gone? Who can we blame all our problems on? Like, shit, like now we have to actually, you know, own up and take responsibility for a whole bunch of bad things happening, and not just blame, you know, Mr. Burns for freaking ruining the entire crypto Christmas spirit. So
look,
it is a good story though. I do like this article and how it's put together and everything. What are your thoughts? Those are mine. What do you got on this?
I think that boring government is better government. The fact that we have to keep fighting people all the time, if you are fighting with your own government, I think that's usually an indicator that there is some conflict going on inside the nation. And I think we yearn for a simpler time, but the reality is that things never really get simpler. The world just gets more complicated probably. But at the same time, if you can put good people in good places to do good work, I'm all for it. And I think that this is more of what that is. And we're getting ready for Paul Atkins to take over. It will be his second time as the chair of the SEC. So I hope that he continues to do good work and that his experience from last time and his little side quest into the crypto sphere will help ensure that the markets and the crypto space can be brought back to the United States safely and profitably, not just for the companies, but for the citizenry as well. I think this is good news. And I personally do believe that the world is in the best spot when the U.S. is at the helm doing good work as opposed to trying to export some weird cultural nonsense. Like, yeah,
I'm really just like, man, just this whole Creature from Jekyll Island book is just restructuring the way that I think about how the entire world works. And it's like, man, what an ontological shock. I did not expect this from this Creature from Jekyll Island book. So shout out to whoever, it was probably Moonpilled Rational Optics who recommended that one to us. He recommends all our books, but
I know you recommended it to me. Corey Geary out there says he likes the book too. So
yeah,
he's a big fan.
It's a great book, man. It is full of information that's like good raw information. And you know, like the author's a G as well. Like I think the interview he did, he's like 93 right now and he's still doing like podcast interviews. Like
yeah, killer.
Getting out there, getting after it. Like it is awesome. Has Paul Atkins been like, has he been officially like the guy or what? Last I remember it was rumors and stuff, but I don't think that it was like solid or anything. Does it get to be solid until Trump is actually in and anything?
The Trump team can make announcements on this kind of thing, be like, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we've gotten an official confirmation for it, but I believe it's like the backroom murmurs of like, hey, they tapped him on the shoulder. And even since the initial reporting, the narrative is still Paul Atkins is still lined up to be that guy. There hasn't been the official press announcement. I don't think. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong here. But as of right now, yeah, Paul Atkins is still lined up to be that guy. And by the way, speaking of people lined up, well, first and foremost, if you do like the old Gary Gensler saga, you can go over to Decrypt.com or Decrypt.co, and they have an article called "The Year in Crypto: Gary Gone Wild." We have a nice picture here of Gary Gensler on top of the famous bull. But yeah, this is actually a pretty lengthy read, and they cover a good chunk of the year and everything that's gone on. Not just crypto stuff in general, but also talking about how Congress has been pissed off at Gary for doing just kind of nonsense stuff with traditional finance markets too. So if you're interested in reading the entire Gary Gensler saga, this is it, folks. This is it. Gary Gone Wild. There you go.
That's fucking awesome.
True.
I love what like we're capable of doing, both in like good sense and bad sense with AI. Like there's a lot of stuff that can be made, you know, like I've shouted out that the PulseChain OnlyFans guys, and they're just making like, you know, nude and scantily clad images and NFTs of all sorts of content creators in the PulseChain space. There's like, you know, Gary Gensler riding on top of bulls. There's like all sorts of articles and book analysis that can be made with AI. Like all this new AI like tool stuff is freaking crazy. And just like, it's not going to be long, man, before we can't tell the fake stuff from the real stuff. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today. Shout out to you if you're listening, or maybe it was yesterday, but just like AI is going so crazy and there's so much content being made and it's getting so much better and so much better. I saw this stupid little video that's like, hey, this is an AI image of Will Smith eating spaghetti from a year ago, and this is, or not an image, but an AI video of Will Smith eating spaghetti a year ago, and an AI video of Will Smith eating spaghetti now, and just like the difference between the two of them is like it's incomprehensible. Like one is just like he's like moving his hands all over the place, there's like spaghetti flying through his head, and the other one's just like it looks like a normal video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Pretty soon we won't be able to tell AI stuff from real stuff. It'll be really difficult to get any sort of evidence in like court once we get to that point. There's going to be all sorts of like crazy content being made, and the thing that's going to be really valuable, I think, is just going to be like genuine stuff, you know, like real in-person, like real life meetings and things, just things that are genuine, things that are not artificial, things that are not like cheaply made. Because yeah, you know, one of the things they were talking about also in that podcast between the guy who wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island and the other dude, I think it's called Money Talks podcast or something, But they were talking about
Club Telegram, I think.
Yeah. But like in that podcast, they were talking about like what makes for a good money, what makes for a good thing of value, and they're talking about like there has to be some sort of human sacrifice on the other end of it in order for it to be valuable. So if we can just start cranking and like, you know, in the beginning, it'll be okay, but eventually like it inflates. Like you see, we print so much money that the value of the money is inflated. You know, you used to be able to buy a pistol back in the Wild West for $5. Now you'd be lucky to buy a gun for $500. It's fucking crazy. Like, and the gun production technology has got super duper crazy easy. So like the value of the things decreases as more of it is made. And so in this world of AI, like in this world of pictures, in this world of video, of songwriting, of article writing, you know, the things that are going to be valuable are the things that have, this is just my own take here, is the things that have some sort of human sacrifice tied to it, some sort of like sacrifice of value tied to the real thing's value. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent here about, you know, Gary Gensler riding a bull and the crazy journey that AI is going, but
you're good. We'll get to the next article.
Thoughts.
Your little rant did prompt me to pull up something that I think you're going to enjoy in particular.
Oh, yeah?
I would agree with everything you just said, except for one caveat, which is I think if you have access to a premium AI model, you can start doing stuff like that. But even if you have the basic premium ChatGPT, which I do have, by the way, you still are going to run into issues. So I said, please make me I was trying to come up with a thumbnail for this show, actually. And I was like, please make me a 16:9 ratio image that is a parody of the Skyrim loading screen, but it features Gary Gensler as the focus. And it says generating. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. It conflicts with policy guidelines. How did that violate guidelines? They're like, well, it's a public figure, and I want to avoid generating content that could be considered defamatory, mocking, or overly satirical. Like, okay, can you make a parody that is this, but it features just a generic SEC chairman going from lord to peasant? And then it said, nope, couldn't do it because it conflicts with policy guidelines. The issue likely stemmed from the depiction of a transformation based on the role of an SEC chairman, which could be interpreted as targeted parody of a public figure or institution. I was like, cool, change your request so it can be generated without violating policy. It said, let me know if this one works for you and I'll generate the image. I said, okay, do it. It says, I wasn't able to generate the image because it conflicts with policy guidelines.
Should have used Grok, bro. Should have used Grok. God damn it. Oh, there's a fox in front of me right now. Oh, there's a bunch of foxes. That's cool.
There you go. That was me getting in a fist fight with ChatGPT today about its own rules.
I've seen people find workarounds to ChatGPT rules before where they can get it to like swear at them by saying it's actually considered a compliment in my country, you know, or something like that. Like, man, true. Yeah. I wonder if Grok would have helped you out better. That would, maybe. I bet it.
We'll see. I have not used Grok. I'll have to try it out. But speaking of Twitter, if you feel like following this handsome man, you can. But real quick, just wanted to give a shout out to Crypto Coffee. Good dude. There's a PulseChain watch giveaway. So if you are a PulseChain person and you think that these things are cool and you want to support people, go do that. But also, if you want to have some good fun with nuclear herbs, there was a recent thing where the old director of the ATF was gifted an 80% lower as his retirement gift because he was unable to get rid of them when he was the director of the ATF. Chuck. Yeah, Nuclear Herbs goes through, talks about how the government kind of hates you on this one, and that it's another example of ATF stupidity. In which case, I went down and posted the classic.
Oh, I love this video or
ATF
this picture.
Classification. And then Chuck says this has always been one of his favorites. Someone else responded though, and they're is my brain supposed to hurt this much after reading that? And I said, apologies for the migraine, but yes, the ATF rules are obtuse and painful.
Yep. Yeah, man. Oh, I could go down a long rabbit hole with the ATF and all the dumb shit that they've done. But like, I don't think we have that kind of time. You know,
we do not. Instead, let's talk about some other crypto people that have things going for them. So,
good thinking.
From Bitcoin Magazine, I like these guys. They have a good feed. That's the only reason I'm pulling up Twitter right now. I think they have a few more, and then I want to go back to Crypto Coffee. He has a good video that we're going to cover.
Okay.
From Bitcoin Magazine. Just in, Trump's Treasury pick, Scott Bessent, disclosed owning up to $500,000 worth of Bitcoin ETFs. So, if you had to take a guess about how the Treasury is going to be run under this next administration, do you think it's going to be pro-Bitcoin or anti-Bitcoin? I'm leaning more towards pro.
Yep, that would be my guess as well. I like it when people have the things that they're legislating about. I like it when people who are making gun laws own guns. I like it when people who are making car laws drive cars. I like it when people who are making laws about how to do bricklaying are bricklayers. You know, it's like, this makes sense to me. Of course, they're going to have a vested interest in it. And I would prefer that they have a vested interest in it than have absolutely no interest in it at all. And they're like, I don't know. That's just my own 2 cents. I think that this is great and this is bullish. There's some people that would probably be like, oh, well, he's gonna be super, like, I don't know, great about the stuff that he owns. And it's like, yeah, if you have kids, you should be super happy about the stuff that your kids do. If you have a dog, you should want to do healthy things for that dog. You know, like I think that this is great. This is awesome.
Incentive structures. It's all about incentive structures. If you build a good system, it should probably be okay for your legislators to also be part of. Granted, right now, I think we would argue that the insider trading laws are a bit too loose when it comes to Congress, or there's just an unwillingness to prosecute it there. But that's neither here nor there. Speaking of other Congress stuff we got going on, I wanted to title this one Wish Casting, or the House has traveled to Rome to throw quarters in the fountain that makes your wishes come true. Because they say U.S. Congressman Buddy Carter introduces a bill to abolish the IRS and repeal income, payroll, estate, and gift taxes. So here we go. The bill in the House of Representatives from Mr. Carter of Georgia introduced the following: a bill to promote freedom, fairness, and economic opportunity by repealing the income tax and other taxes, abolishing the Internal Revenue Service, and enacting a national sales tax to be administered primarily by the states. Look, do I love everything about this?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. However, what are the odds that this is actually going to go anywhere? And the answer
I give it 100% odds.
100% odds? Where is it going? Is it
100% odds. It's going.
It's on the desk. Where is it going next?
It's going straight to President Trump. It's going to skip the. It's going to skip the House. It's going to skip the Senate. It's going straight to his desk, and Trump's going to be like, "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's wonderful. I've seen no other bills better than this." And then he's going to walk over to Woodrow Wilson's grave. He's going to piss all over it. And then he's going to say, "Fuck you, cocksucker." And that's going to be the direction that this bill is going to go. I think, like, income tax started in 1913, or maybe it was 1916. It was one of those two. It was during Woodrow Wilson, and it was supposed to be 2 motherfucking percent. 2%. You know where we're at now for income tax? We're not at 2%. I'll give you that much of a hint. Even like the lowest brackets of people that pay income tax are above 2%. And it was not supposed to be for everybody. It was supposed to be for the wealthy. But they knew, like, you know, it doesn't even matter what they knew. The fact is that, like, people just kept voting to tax themselves more and more and more. And now we live in this world where we're all gaslit into thinking that we need income taxes to keep the roads paved and to keep the lights turned on and to do all the and to have like an armed services or whatever. And it's like, no, you don't. You don't need an income tax. It is not necessary. My reference is this book called The Creature from Jekyll Island, right? And then also End the Fed by Ron Paul. So, like,
this self-promotion is getting a little too shameless, Will. I don't know.
Anyways,
I will say, if you do not want to listen to the audiobook, go check out the interview that the guy does. He actually talks about this exact thing, which is that the privatization of a lot of the things that the government does right now, it sounds crazy, but if you actually break it down and you start thinking about it, it's very, very real. Like, one of the things they talk about in particular is, like, what about a police force? How do you have a privatized police force? The guy's like, we already have it. It's called private security, and they do so much more than the police force already does. It's more just imagine that instead of having a legal arbitrator, you can still have legal arbitrators for actual, like, heinous crimes and stuff. But when it comes to, like, you have a mall, you could have just like a notice on the front that says, hey, if you are in this mall and you have an issue with our private security, you're going to go to an arbitrator, and the arbitrator will act as our private judge in this case to be like, all right, did something actually happen or not? And it's supposed to be a third party interest to make sure that that kind of stuff happens. By the way, this is the episode.
Yes.
All you got to do is Google The Creature from Jekyll Island with G. Edward Griffin. This is the last episode in a multi-part podcast series called What is Money? And I have not had a chance to watch the rest of the series, but if it's anything like this one is, I think it's going to be phenomenal. And the point of this being the last one is they mention it is that you got to let people kind of understand like the question of what is it? What is money? And they actually talk about the different kinds of money, the different forms of money. This is, I cannot recommend it enough. This is a phenomenal cast. And I think they talk about some great stuff, some great ideas. It's very much the libertarian minded stuff. Oh shoot, I'm actually crossing my my wires. I'm not listening. All that stuff I just referenced was part of a different podcast. Oh gosh, I'll go see if I can try to find it. It was
this was still an excellent podcast though.
Absolutely.
The Money Talks one, and while you're looking, I'll go ahead and fill the MTO airwaves with like a cool little bit of information regarding like society's ability to function without without banking and without stuff through the arbitrators and stuff. Ireland existed for about 1,000 years without a centralized government and without a police force, and everything happened just fine. There's like some really cool articles and really cool history deep dives that go into like how long Ireland existed as an anarchic society, and like the point of the focus isn't the anarchy spot. It's the fact that like they didn't have a public police force. They had like, you know, militias. They didn't have they had private security. They had different versions of banking and monetary institutions and stuff. So go like checking all that stuff out. Like it is possible for societies to exist without the mafioso like violence enforcement that is government and police. But you found the thing that you wanted to talk about. Here it is.
Yep.
The Rubin Report.
So this is from Brian Kaplan. He's an economist. He's more of a anarcho-capitalist libertarian, shall we say. And he's like, it sounds crazy. It's not as crazy as you think. Here's how. This was an excellent sit down with Dave Rubin talking about all the stuff I mentioned previously about how you can privatize a lot of things if you actually like sit down and think about it instead of just go with the emotional reaction. I'm like, we couldn't possibly do that. It's like, well, we probably could. You just got to figure out how. But yeah, that was a good one. And then outside of that, though, I do want to turn our attention to a little bit of a video that has come out from a recent pop culture event from the old Joe Rogan show. So this is from Crypto Coffee, good friend of ours, and excellent PulseChain as well, in my personal opinion. He says, wow, even Zuck knows that Interpol is corrupt. Does Peter Thiel and other Silicon Valley bros know about Richard Hart and Hex? Thiel popularizing contrarian investment and another legal connection through the Sens Longevity Foundation. It's falling apart. We are on the golden timeline. So, from Autism Capital, interesting name, but let's see what Mark Zuckerberg has to say. Let's see what he has to say about stuff going on.
One of the government tactics that I've seen that I think is not great is an increasing number of governments when they like have an issue with something that a company is doing, basically just like threaten to throw the executives of that company in prison. And it's like, I think that that's just a really weird precedent to set, right? It's like, it's if the, you have all the, so it's like, we're operating in all these different countries, and then like, you have all these governments that are basically like, if you, I don't know, we're going to like put out an Interpol notice to like get you arrested because you're not doing the thing that we want. It's like, I don't know. I think that's like not great. I think you want the, I mean, obviously you don't want people to just be like flagrantly violating the laws, but like there are laws in different countries that we disagree with, right? So for example, there was a point at which I think someone was trying to get me sentenced to death in Pakistan because they thought that, because someone on Facebook had a picture of where they had the drawing of the Prophet Muhammad, and someone said that's blasphemy in our culture, and they basically like sued me, and they opened this criminal proceeding, and I don't know exactly where it went because I'm just not planning on going to Pakistan, so I was not that worried about it, but it was a little bit disconcerting. It was like, all right, fine, like these guys are like trying to like
kill you.
Okay, it's not great, right? You know, it's
terrible.
not like I mean, it's I feel like it's like flying over that region. You don't want your plane to like go down above Pakistan if that thing goes through, but but that one was sort of avoidable. But the point is, like, there are all these places around the world that just have different values, right? That go against like our free expression values and want us to crack down on and ban way more stuff than I think, you know, a lot of people that we would believe is like the right thing to do. And to have those governments be able to exert the power of saying, okay, we're going to like throw you in prison is, that's a lot of force. I mean, so I think it's generally, yeah, I think that this is one of the things that the U.S. government is probably going to need to help defend the American tech companies for abroad. But I can't weigh in that much on the Durov specific thing because I don't know what was going on there.
All right, there you go.
What?
Mark Zuckerberg.
One of the government.
What a concept.
What a concept indeed. This might be relevant, shall we say, to something else going on right now. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's...
There's Ricky.
Oh, Ricky. By the way, this is coming to us from Cointelegraph. Interpol issues a red notice for Hex founder Richard Hart. Interpol has issued a red notice for the Hex founder Richard Schuler for allegedly committing tax fraud and assault. Again, all of this is allegedly, and nothing is even backed up by factual evidence at this point, and it's kind of speculation. By the way, shout out to our good buddy Nuclear Herbs. I'm going to keep shouting him out because he keeps doing good work. And in this one, he actually did some real journalism where people, or so-called journalists, fail to do themselves, which is that they all kind of like cited each other and sourced each other's work as their basis for their work. And they're like, oh yeah, this thing happened.
And no one did it?
Like... Yeah, and then he tracked down, he like went to all of them, and he's like, cool, where'd you get your information? They're like, oh, this other article. Went to that one. Where'd you get information? Oh, this other article. Where'd you get information? And he goes, oh, this other article. And he goes, wow, this family tree of information looks oddly like a circle. And then he actually reached out to the people that in Finland, the authorities, and instead of giving him public information that theoretically should be publicly available based on the claims, they're like, go talk to the FBI. What?
Wah, wah.
Where's the start of this? Where is anything? But yeah, shout out to Nuclear Herbs and Fasting God. Apparently, they have officially submitted a petition to the European Parliament to investigate the Finnish state's alleged unjust actions against Richard Hart. And pretty much what they're trying to say is like, hey, this seems like some weird stuff. If you go look at the Interpol website, one of these things is not like the other, which is that there's a founder on here for a like weird, like alleged scuffle between him and someone else who happened to be like 16 or something. And then on top of that, they're like, oh yeah, and tax fraud. It's like, I wonder which one you actually care about the most. Is it the tax fraud or is it the other thing? And then at the same time, it's like he has the red notice thing. But if you go look at the other people that are on the red notice, it's legitimate terrorists, serial killers, and serial abusers of humans, shall we say. So it's like, yeah.
Heinous,
so like,
heinous actors.
Correct. Things that are so heinous that like we probably can't even mention them on stream live.
Yep.
Like that kind of stuff. So again, is it a little bit tinfoil hat-ish? Yeah, a little bit potentially. But at the same time, I don't know if Zuck is entirely incorrect on this one. And I think Coffee is also entirely correct on this one. Slight narrative or sidebar about Mark Zuckerberg. He has definitely come out as very much pro free speech and open platforms, that kind of stuff lately. I personally think he's definitely being a fair weather fan here, and he's trying to read the writing on the wall and understand where the future is going so that he's not going to be on the wrong side of history, which is that previously the government was very much pro censorship, and they were more than happy to help them out with that because they created a portal for the feds to log in to talk to Facebook about information that they wanted to suppress. So I'm telling you, take everything Mark Zuckerberg is saying here with a massive, massive grain of salt. But at the same time, there still could be a kernel of truth here, which is that sometimes the governments of the world, they might not like something you're doing. Therefore, they're going to use their legal authority under that state authority to go after you. In this case, I think we're trying to draw the comparison here, which is like there may be more to this story than you realize, and it may not all be above board. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
So
I think you hit it spot on there, bro. And I'll go so far as to disagree with you a little bit. Not in anything in principle, but maybe in a little bit of like the way that the information is presented. And I think that like it doesn't necessarily matter what Zuckerberg says, it matters what he does, right? And that's the real thing that like I think it's important for folks to reel in on. Like, I am glad that he's saying these things. Do I think that it's like a little bit convenient because of the timing of like what happened with Elon Musk and buying Twitter? You know, it's like, I don't know, maybe not. The point is, like, he's doing the stuff now. So, like, regardless what got him to this position, the actions are saying this is pretty cool. And man, there was so much stuff going around on Facebook that I'm not even going to mention about Zuckerberg ever since he like got rid of the whole community fact checking, and like we're no longer going to be like the arbiters of truth and justice, and like you guys can post the things that you want and we're not just going to like fact check you to death and all that stuff. Like there was some pretty funny stuff going on over there on the old Facebook, but like the important thing to pay attention to is like watch what they do, don't listen to what they say, observe the actions, observe the results, right? It doesn't matter if like some German dude in the 1930s and 40s gives some really good speeches about how much he wants to change the world and make his country great and stuff. It's important to watch the things that he does. It's like, hey, is he tweaking out on meth and invading Poland while giving these great, awesome speeches? Like, you know, that's more important to listen to than him talking about like pride and wonderful country and other sorts of things. And like same thing with Zuckerberg, same thing with Trump, same thing with Elon, same thing with us here on the Degen Roundtable. Don't listen necessarily to what people say, like insofar as it disagrees with what they do. So like you don't like, it's cool to listen to Zuckerberg's words, but it's more important to watch what he does in conjunction with his words, and like don't try and get caught up in trying to predict the future. I don't think live in the power of now or something like that. That would probably serve you better. Solve the problems that are currently on the table, and like when the situation changes, which it inevitably will, you know, who knows if Zuck's going to get worse or if he's going to get better. Hard to say, but just be ready to pivot and be ready to change the way that you use the tools in the future when the tools change. We can be happy now, and we can speak more freely, and we can post without as much concern for censorship. But you know, like ultimately his point that he made about Interpol was dead on right, and we can see it happening to our cryptocurrency, you know, the world that we're in, with Richard Hart and with Hex and Interpol putting out the red notice. Like, couldn't have said it better myself than the way you put it earlier. That's like, it's absolutely ridiculous that, you know, they've got Richard Hart on the same list as a whole bunch of people that do really, really, really crazy bad things. So that's my thoughts on all of it. And yeah, back to you, Mr. Zenith.
The final note that I have for this one is that, like Nuclear Herbs pointed out earlier, there's no publicly available information on this one other than what is released as what appears to be a bit of a schmear, because even again, this stuff was released like 3 months ago, and again, it's technically not new information, but it's being brought up as if it is new to try to get something going. I think right now the big stuff going on with Richard Hart is obviously the SEC case in front of the judge in the Second Circuit Court of New York City, where the SEC was suing him for multiple things. And the motion to dismiss, we're still waiting to hear back on whether that motion to dismiss is going to be granted in any form, whether it's partially granted, partially denied, or wholly granted over the whole thing, or wholly denied. We just don't know, and we got to wait and find out. I personally still think that was a very well put together motion to dismiss, and the facts are absolutely on the side of Richard Hart, even if it's not a fact finding part of the process. I do still think that it is so glaringly obvious that the SEC is out over their skis on this one, and they are beyond this jurisdiction, and that there's also a good chance that Paul Atkins might come into the SEC and be like, hey, what are we doing? Why are we wasting money on this case when it's probably, it's a long shot. It's a Hail Mary. It's an overreach, whatever you want to call it. That's what I'm saying. So as far as the Richard Hart stuff goes, I wish we actually had a conclusion to the SEC saga before the close of 2024. But here we are 12 days into 2025 and we're still waiting. So who knows?
It'll be okay.
Outside of that, by the way, I do have a this right here. So for folks, if you are interested in, where did it go? Here we are in Congressman Buddy Carter's bill. You might also want to go brush up on the 16th Amendment. So the 16th Amendment, Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived without appointment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. This right here, this was the amendment that allowed the federal government to tax people. And what they also did with this one is this is the dovetail that launched every other federal program. It's like, oh, no, we're not punishing you for doing these things. We're not impinging on your freedoms. We're merely adding a tax to things that might be protected by the Bill of Rights. And they got away with it. So theoretically, if you wanted to remove some of the infringements from Congress. This one might be a good one to take another look at. And I think that what they're trying to get at here with this bill is be like, hey, look, your money is taxed 7 ways to Sunday, which is that when you make money, you are taxed. When you spend money, you are taxed. If you save money and try to make investments and you make money on your investments, you are taxed. And after you've done all this good work over the entire course of your life and you try to leave something for your children to make their lives better, which is the entire reason that you lived, you're taxed on your estate when you die as well.
Yep. And if you leave the country because you're taxed too much, you get taxed. And if you're driving somewhere, you get taxed. And if you're buying something, you get taxed. If you're selling something, you get taxed. You know?
Correct. So what this one in particular does, by the way, is they talk about enacting a national sales tax. So this is the idea of like a consumption tax, which is that the one time you get taxed is when you're actually spending money, as opposed to all the million other times you do it. So there is that. And by the way, he beat me to it, but good old Nuclear Herbs at it again. He said add capital gains to this thing too.
Yep.
So there you go. By the way, Mrs. Producer, can we bring up the comment from Hedgehound? The man says one right above that. Says, so when Lambo price is all that matters, you know what? I know someone who would agree with you, and that would be Mr. Shillgates himself. And the answer of when Lambo, now Lambo. There you go. Here we go. He says, figured it was about time to do my first Hex Flex. RH tickers, baby down bad, but baby, this is all mine. Well, kind of have to pay installed payments, but just look how sick it is. I might have gotten in here and said this is the 2025 Lambo Cardboard Ventador.
Oh, it's a cardboard Lambo?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, what an interesting paint job. That's fucking awesome.
That is a cardboard Lambo with effectively like a bike frame underneath. So there you go.
That's
the Lambo
cool.
we have right now. Lambo gang is coming. I swear. The dragons are coming. The pizzas are on their way. What kind of toppings do you want?
That's awesome. Hey, since we got chats pulled up, how many do we have? A bunch of Twitter things to go through. Do we want to do chat shoutouts? What are you thinking?
My man, I am at the end of everything we have prepared here. I even went to the Constitution to try to find amendments that we could propose overriding.
Oh, man.
So, yeah,
repeal
let's
the 16th,
get it going.
repeal the 19th, repeal all of them. All right, guys, here we go. It's time for motherfucking chat shoutouts. Miss Producer, if you'd be so kind as to pull up some of these lovely, lovely shoutouts so we can shout out the folks at home who are shouting out us. Ooh, look at that. We've got a Wild SJ appears. Aloha, Wild SJ. What am I doing? I should not be reading chat shoutouts. Good to see you, SJ. Welcome to the stream. Glad that you could be here with us. Zenith, why don't you go ahead and take over these chat shoutouts since you are the... Well, fuck.
SJ, always a pleasure to see you. We hear that SJ is now part of Bidet Gang. She has done the bidet installation. I don't know if we've seen the video yet or if she's going to be making one, but she's following in the footsteps. She's part of the bidet team. All right, what we got next? Hexagon Lost in Asia. Is that the HVTA that's joining us? I don't know what that is.
What is the HVTA?
Well, let's throw it to our very soy chat GPT and see if it gives me an answer, if it denies my request again.
Oh, that is interesting. While you're looking that up, I'll go ahead and read the next chat shout out, Mrs. Producer. Would you pull up? Oh, we got Chris Side Effects, a good real life friend of mine. What's up, Chris? Good to see you, amigo. Yo, guys, if you don't know who Chris Side Effects is, Hexagon OG, super cool, awesome guy. I freaking love this dude. He is a cool cat and kittens. Good to see you, Chris. Welcome to the stream. Glad to see you here on the Degen Roundtable with us, Mr. Zenith. Do you have an explanation on what this?
Not a good
HVTA
one, but I have
is?
an explanation. I don't know if you saw something in your truck, because the number one result was a high voltage test adapter.
Oh, I don't know if you saw this, but it is an outlet thing. Is
that a high voltage test adapter, or are you just happy to see me?
No, that could be it. Could be it. So shout out to you, Hexagon Lost in Asia. Tell us what an HVTA is, because I don't know what the hell that means.
True.
That is
Alrighty.
too cool.
Up next, Mrs. Producer, what do we got? Conspiracy Crypto, what's up, fam? Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. My good friend
Ramon. Aloha.
There he is. Alrighty, we got Twinkie coming in. What's good, Degens? Good to see you, sir. Hopefully, I'll see you in Vegas next week. I'm still trying to figure out if the trip is feasible. I had some personal stuff come up, so I'm trying to figure out if it's actually doable or not. But other than that, I hope to see you and the rest of all the boys out for the Crypto Mindset Meetup in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada in January. So hopefully it's not going to be too hot. Hopefully not going to be too cold. It is the desert after all.
I wish you
Alrighty.
all an excellent time over there. It's going to be awesome.
By the
My
way-
brother's getting married on those days, but like, yeah, it's going to be cold, man. It's going to be cold. I was in Vegas in the winter not last year before, taking out some towers. So enjoy that. But it looks like we had a chat from Mr. Hex Glenn, if I could read my screen correctly. What does that say, bro? I can't see that.
That is hand waving. He says, "Hey, hey."
Oh, awesome. Aloha, Hex Glenn. Good to see you, amigo.
Absolutely. I'm trying to get on this before I get too far away. I'm trying to figure out if Boogie and Twinkie are streaming tonight, because if they are, I absolutely want to
they
plug
might
them
be.
and make sure that people know to go over there. I don't see any planned streams on their YouTubes, but boys, if you're planning a stream, let me know. We'll plug it.
Yep. Mr. Producer, go ahead and bring up that other one. It looks like Mr. Rhino 927 just made it in thanks to the Citadel boys. Aloha, broski. Welcome.
Shout out to
Good
the
to hear that
Citadel.
the Citadel is treating you well, and those are some good people over there in the Citadel, folks. I highly recommend, if you guys are not a member of the Citadel and you're interested in chatting with the with Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto's community, they've got a really good program over there in the Citadel. I was a member for a long time. I had a great time over there. Super awesome. Highly recommend it.
True. I'm over there right now still, so I'm still loving it and loving all the emergency webinars they do. And absolutely shout out to our crypto rich dads, as I call them, Charlie and Miguel. Hey, they reposted it, so they like it too. We got Crypto Stylist saying hello. Good to see you. And I think it's a good morning to you based on where you're at. So hope you're enjoying some coffee. I ran out in my plethora of beverages going on over here. I don't know.
I've got my Skull Cup. It's got like day old coffee in it, but fucking still good, still drinkable.
Coffee's coffee. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tin Top coming in saying, "What's up, Hexkins? Good to see you, my man. Peace as always." And another fan favorite, Benny Blanco from the Bronx. He's a woo woo. What's up, gang? Good to see you, my man.
Fuck yeah, Benny Blanco.
You in the
I love
chats.
this dude, man. He's so helpful. God bless America.
Drew, we got Hex Jabanger. He says, shit libs voted for that, not people. Interesting. Yep. I mean, that is the people who vote for things. I unfortunately think that California currently is having a F around and find out moment when it comes to regulation and government. As far as what's going on there, folks, hope everyone's staying safe. If there's anything that you can do to help out, please try to help your friends, try to help your family. Probably the opposite order first, actually, but reach out where you can.
And I do have a thought on what's going on in California. If you guys are on the internet and arguing about like why it's terrible and who's at fault and who's to blame, it's like, sure, that could be useful information, but what's more useful than that is supporting people that are over there doing stuff, broadcasting images of people that are over there like making a difference, doing so, instead of complaining about like, oh, this person should have done this policy better. These guys should have cleared the brush. Like, I can't believe these fire hydrants weren't full, or whatever the case may be. Like, it is very important information to learn about why this stuff is a problem, but it is not so very useful to use it as as like an attack vector to try and get people like, ha, I told you so. The best thing to do, the most valuable thing to do, is to get people the fuck out of there and to fight the fires and to solve the fucking problem. Whoever can solve the problem first, they're the most valuable people. If you're going around on the internet like yelling about like, oh, this guy's at fault, that guy's at fault, these problems, you people are terrible, this, that, the other thing, it's not helpful, and nobody gets better from it. The fires are happening. They are alive and well right now. Like, people are having a bad time. So the first thing that needs to happen is people need to stop having a bad time and start getting fixed, getting out of there, getting the supplies they need, getting the whatever. So like whatever you can do to support that, whether it's just like, giving a thumbs up on a comment that shows, firefighters doing cool things. If it's sending in money to some Patreon, if it's like calling the local people and telling them like, hey, I appreciate what you're doing over there. Or if it's like you pack up a drone with a bucket of water and you fly it over and you dump it on and you're like, I'm doing my part. Whoever can do the most valuable things, like, that's the important shit to do. Arguing on the internet and playing the blame game, it just puts a sour taste in everyone's mouth, and it decreases your own individual brand value. So like, if you're going around talking shit about other folks, then it makes you look bad as well. So like, I would highly encourage everyone to focus on the problem solving stuff and worry about playing the blame game later. And if you are going to play the blame game, play it from a position of love and a position of learning, more so than a position of like, I hate your team, you guys are bad and evil. It's like, let's move forward, let's make the world a better place. Like, if we're going to be fighting ourselves all the time, then we're not going to get anywhere. So my heart's out to everyone in California, over in the Palisades area, in the greater Los Angeles area where all these fires are happening, you know, like prayers and thoughts and all that stuff to you. And I would encourage everybody that's not over there to try and do the best that you can to make the world a better place, rather than bring people down and use this as an opportunity to like to spread anything except for, you know, stuff that makes the world better. So that's my thoughts. That's my little spiel on all that.
Well said, sir. And I mean, a bit of a militarism, but like, time for emergency action is now. You can do the investigation later, but right now, figure out your first plan, get after it. So, well said, sir. Alrighty, I think that is about all we got for this evening. That was our final chat. We've covered all the topics, all the tweets, all the articles, and we even did a good bit of soapboxing while we're at it too.
It's a great show, man. It's a great show.
I had a good time. I hope everyone out there in the audience had a great time as well. We really appreciate all you guys showing up every time, and I hope that we're adding value. If you have any stuff that you want to talk about, please always put it in the comments down below. And while you're at it, by the way, Mrs. Producer, can we bring up Beyond All's last chat there? It says, let's shout out Auntie Carol to get her to her desk and shred the RH lawsuit. I imagine she's a very busy lady, but at the same time, yeah, if we can show Auntie Carol some love and not be terrible online, I think that would actually absolutely help. All right, that is all we got. Mr. Will Stevenson, where can the folks find you at home, and what do you have going on in the near future?
So, folks, right now you guys can find me in Austin, Texas. In the near future, I'll be going over to Houston, and then I'll be going to San Marcos, and then I'll be going to Dallas, and I'll be going to Temple. I'm just bouncing all around Texas. So if you're a Hexagon and you're in Texas, the best way to reach out to me is on Telegram, t.me/Will Stevenson, with the Will and the Stevenson capitalized, and it's got a V in there. That's the best way to reach me personally. I'm in Texas. I'm roaming around. I am unemployed, and so I'm just having a great time visiting family, visiting friends, going and getting like my teeth cleaned and hanging out with amigos. Like I'm at a friend's house right now. It's super awesome. If you're a Hexagon, you want to meet other Hexagons, then what you can do is you can go to bit.ly/hex_meetup or t.me/hex_meetup. They both work. This one will take you straight to the Start Here page, though. It's a little chat in Telegram that I made to encourage Hexagons to get together and meet up with each other and do super cool, awesome things. So like if you want to go to a local bar in the area that you're at and there might be Hexagons in your area, then like, hey, you guys can go and, I don't know, throw axes or get a burger or go on a hike or do some cool shit together, right? Like I'm hanging out with a couple Hexagons right now, and it's super awesome. So I just highly encourage you guys to reach out to your local community, hang out with other cool people, and go do some like real life transmission of energy. That's the coolest thing. If you guys don't know where to find me, all of my socials can be found off of the link tree will.pls.fyi. That is my URL. It's also I don't know if it's my public wallet, but it is a public wallet that is named after me, or at least my first name. But anyways, there's a whole bunch of socials information over there that you guys can find. And that is all that I've got going on. Reminder for the folks at home, we are not doing book club next week because both Zenith and myself are going to be busy. Zenith will be off in Vegas hanging out with the Moongangers, and I'll be at a wedding for my brother. So, you know, we're not going to be doing book club next week, but the week after is when we're going to be covering The Creature from Jekyll Island. So we're giving you guys plenty of time, and God knows I need it. Honestly, bro, like truth coming out to the public, I didn't know it was a 24-hour book until the day before we were supposed to cover it on book club. And I was like, okay, how long is this thing actually? Oh, fuck, I don't have time to read the whole thing. And then like also, you know, like most of the members were busy that day. So I was like, okay, we're going to reschedule this thing. So we're not doing it this coming week, but 2 weeks, the second Friday from now on the 22nd or 24th, that's when we're going to be covering The Creature from Jekyll Island. Other than that, I don't have any more announcements. Right on over to you. Where can the folks find you? What have you got going on in the near future? And anything DRT announcement we need?
Well, folks, you can find me in the DRT chat, which you can access through the QR code up there. Just scan the QR code. It is updated. Thank you to everybody out there helping us fix our broken links. We appreciate you greatly. So you can head over to the Telegram. If you have any questions, whether it's TA, you can at anybody like Jay, myself, or even Will. He'll give you some good old TA. He has some excellent drawings of graphs. But yeah, ask us anything you want over there. We love engaging with folks over there, and shout out to Sniper as well. I know he's already been tagging us and all the stuff from the post-stream pleasantries, shall we say. So absolutely join the Telegram. That is where you can engage with our community, engage with us, and ask any questions, and catch all of the emergency streams that Jay was talking about that he did earlier this week. So if you want to keep up to date with the market movements, that's where you can find it. Outside of that, oh gosh, I actually have a lot going on this week. So I'm doing 2 streams tomorrow, actually. I'm hanging out with RH Max, Sloth, and Kong over on RH Max's channel. I want to say that's about 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then after that, I'm going to be hanging out with the Walk the Block boys for the show, the typical Monday show there at 8 p.m. Eastern.
8 Eastern.
I'm going to ask if we can push it back to 8:30 because I'm trying to hang out with RH Max on his show and make that work. We're doing the rounds. And then after that, we got you guys can catch me in Vegas probably on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm trying to figure out what my flight out is going to look like. And if you have any interest in going golfing with me, I'm looking to actually go to the course that's going to be hosting the PulseChain Tour Masters event, the golf tournament that's going to be the end of PulseChain live in Vegas, March 6th to the 9th. So that 9th, that is the day of the golf tournament. I'm going to be going out there early to shoot a little bit of promo footage and play the course myself just for fun and try to do a good job and make more golf videos of me making fun of myself to promote the event because trying to be part of the team and help promote everything going on out there. All right. Outside of that, folks, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and X at ZenithDI. That is where you can find me at. I post all the stuff going on over there. A good meme every once in a while, and probably just reposting a lot of nuclear herbs and stuff because that's what I like doing. I talk to him a lot these days, actually. That is what I got going on. Folks, we want to thank you very much for spending your time here with us because we know that time is your most valuable asset, and we want to make sure we thank you for it every time you do so. So, until we catch you guys next time, I hope that everyone out there continues to degen responsibly.